In this video, I am attempting to beat a Pokemon Black 2 Nuzlocke using hardcore rules, but I can only use flying type Pokemon.
If at any point in this video you do enjoy, think about dropping a like or even subscribing for future videos. Also, comment down below what challenge I should attempt next. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Our journey through the Unusable region starts as we pick up our starter Tepig, and after witnessing an old man jump off a cliff, we can go and pick up our first official team member, Peter, who I named Gala. It was now time to take on the first gym leader, Sharon. He leads with his Patra against Gala, and with the power of frustration can swiftly deal with his two-legged rat, leaving just his Lillipup, who goes down to a combination of frustration and quick attack, winning us our first gym badge of the run. After witnessing a family be torn apart by a father's dreams of acting, we can go and take on the second gym leader, Roxy, and her poison types. Leading with Gala against her coughing, I can take it out easily with our newly learned return and quick attack, which means she only has Whirlipede left, which is taken out in 2 hits with Air Cutter and a quick attack, defeating Roxy for our second gym badge, letting us head off to the bustling city of Castelia, home to the Castelia sewers, where we can find our next team member, Sonar, the Zubat. Heading deeper inside the sewers and arriving in the Relic Passage allows me to find my newest team member, Echo, the Woobat. I then evolve both Zubat and Pidove before taking on the next gym leader, Berg. With Sonar joining the team, he is ready for a sweep, as he can easily slice up Berg's Swadloon, and his next Pokemon, Dwebble, is also taken out thanks to the help of Confuse Ray, leaving just his Leavanny, which is swiftly obliterated by a wing attack, giving us our victory over Berg. We now take a short break from battles to pick up a few new team members, starting in the Desert Resort, where I get a Sigilif named Hero. I then head off to the east of Nimbasa City to Route 16 to get Enzo the Emolga. Going further up, I head into the Lost Lawn Forest, where I get myself a female Combi one named Greaves. I am then able to evolve Golbat into Crobat, Woobat into Swoobat, and Combi into Vespiquen before taking on one of our toughest challengers in the run, Alessa. This possibly treacherous battle starts as she leads with her Emolga against Greaves, which Volt Switches into Flappy, which I put into red with Power Gem before she Volt Switches again to bring in Emolga, who gets put into red as well from a Power Gem. I then switch into Enzo to get the KO on both the Emolga and Flaffy, leaving just her ace Pokemon, Zebstrika. I then have to let Greaves go down to get a free switch into Hero to set up a light screen, before switching to Sonar to KO using returns, ending this horrible battle. Our squad grows even larger as we add Proto the Ducklet and evolve Tranquil into Unpheasant, leaving us to take on Clay. The battle begins with his Crocorock up against Sonar, who KOs it with 2 acrobatics. Clay brings in his ace Excadrill next, so I hit it with a Confuse Ray and live on 1 HP before switching to Hero, set up a Reflect to bring Enzo in to get a Paralysis, so I can switch to Proto to get the KO with a Bubble Beam, and do the same with Sandslash, ending the 5th gym battle. After dealing with a Unovan Poke Terrorist, Team Plasma, I can evolve Proto into Swanna and go and take on the Mistralton gym leader, Skylar. Unfortunately for my flying rival, Enzo and I are preparing for a sweep, taking out her Swoobat with an Electro Ball, and her Swanna suffers the same electrifying fate, and the Skarmory goes down after 2 Electro Balls, ending the battle with Skylar. Afterwards, I catch a flight across the continent to the middle of nowhere, which is funny enough the place I get my next comrade, Frankie the Skarmory. I continue my catching spree as I collect Vix the Swablu on Route 14, and on Route 13 I get Pharaoh the Driftblim, and then Achilles the Gligar joins the team on Route 11. In the process, I evolved Vix into an Altaria before taking on Drayden. The Dragon Leader leads with his Druddigan against Vix, which is beaten down with 2 Dragon Pulses, forcing him to bring in Flygon. Gets hit heavily with a Dragon Pulse by Vix, before I have to switch out into Frankie to set up spikes before finishing it off with a Steel Wing. We are now faced with the biggest problem on his team, Exorus, so I bring Proto in to deal major damage with a Brave Bird, and then have to switch to bring in Enzo, which luckily activates static on the first hit, letting me to switch out into Crobat with a Volt Switch to KO with an Acrobatics, defeating Drayden. But there is no time to celebrate celebrate as Team Plasma starts sending the world into a second ice age, which needs to be stopped. Zinzlin and his ice Pokemon type-wise pose a major threat to us, but his Pokemon are so frail that Sonar is able to sweep through his team. As we journey forward, we stop in Undella Bay to pick up Taika the Mantike, and then we take a calming detour through the Marine Tunnel before getting Chance the Delibird on Route 22 and taking on Marlin. His leading Pokemon is Caracosta, which is taken down by discharges from Enzo after dealing massive damage, meaning after he brings Wailord in, we have to Volt Switch out into Frankie to slice it up with some air slashes. His most annoying Pokemon Jellicent is brought out last, so I bring Sonar in to do damage with acrobatics, but after the first hit it gets disabled from Curse Body, so I have to send Proto in to KO with the Brave Bird, defeating the final gym leader. After catching Gulp with the Pelipper just outside the giant chasm, we start storming the Plasma Frigate and we make our way to Colress, who poses a threat with a few of his steel electric type Pokemon. His Magneton, which is his first Pokemon, takes a heavy hit from Bulldoze by Vix, so he brings Magnezone in, which explodes straight away, almost knocking Vix out. Colress then sends in Metang, so I bring Frankie in to deal damage with Night Slash before using Enzo and Sonar to knock it out. His next Pokemon Klinklang is smashed to pieces by acrobatics from Sonar. He responds by bringing in Behemoth, so I bring Proto in to destroy it with a Brave Bird. Colress's last Pokemon is his damaged Magneton, which is dealt with very easily. With one hard challenge done, we are thrown straight into a harder one against Black Kyurem, but with the combined efforts of Frankie and Sonar, we are able to take it out. We now move on to the big bad himself, Getsus, but luckily enough, Frankie is also the perfect lead for this, as he takes out Cofagrigus with 2 Night Slashes. With his Electros being brought in next, I answer by using both Vix and Sonar to knock it out. His ace Pokemon Hydreigon is up next, but falls to the overwhelming might of Sonar's acrobatics. His last 3 Pokemon, Seismitoad, Toxicroak, and Drapion, also suffer to the devastating sweep of Sonar, defeating Getsus. Moving onwards with our journey, we catch Wicked Volby on Route 23, and then evolve Achilles into Gliscor and make our way to Victory Road to take on Hugh for the last time. His first 3 Pokemon, Unpheasant, Samurott, and Simisage, suffer defeat to Enzo, but his last and most troublesome Pokemon is Buffon. I am able to stall out the PP on both Wild Charge and Head Smash by using Achilles and Pharaoh before ending the battle with Achilles' Sky Uppercut. With our final team built, it was finally time to take on the Pokemon League. The first Elite Four member I chose to take on was Caitlin, as she was going to be the most tedious to defeat. The battle starts with her spamming Yawn with Mushana, and after stalling her out, I am able to knock it out with a U-turn to bring Enzo in, as she brings in Sigilif, and after I almost get one shot, I take it out with a Thunderbolt. This results in Caitlin bringing out her ace, Gothitelle, so I switch into Achilles to deal damage before U-turning out into Frankie to slice it up with a Night Slash. After landing a heavy hitting Night Slash on Reuniclus, I am able to switch into Sonar to obliterate it with a X-Scissor to beat Caitlin. The second member I took on was Grimsley, who's defeated very quickly as Sonar sweeps through his Lipard, Scrafty, and Crocodile, and when Bisharp is brought in, I switch to Achilles to destroy it with a Sky Uppercut. Marshall was the next opponent, or should I say victim, as Sonar spreads his wings and swoops through all 4 of Marshall's Pokemon, only getting hit once throughout the whole battle. It was time to take on the last member, Chantal, whose first Pokemon, Cofagrigus, is taken out by 2 Surfs from Proto while doing nothing. This causes her to bring in Drifblim, so I brought out Enzo to pop her balloon and switch out at the same time, so I can bring Proto in to drown Chantal's final 2 Pokemon. Now it's time for the fight against the champion Iris, our final obstacle. Iris leads with a Hydreigon, and I lead with Vix, using Dragon Breath to try and get the paralysis, but it doesn't happen and she goes down, so I can bring Achilles in to KO with a Sky Uppercut. Lapras comes out next, so I U-turn out into Proto to bait the Thunderbolt for Enzo to come in and electrocute Lapras. With her Druddigon coming in, I Volt Switch into Achilles to do heavy damage before going down to let me bring in Proto to end off their Druddigon. As the Archeops comes in, I have to bring Frankie in to break that ancient bird with Steel Wing before going down as the Aggron is brought in next. So I bring Swanna in to wash it away with a Surf, leaving just her Haxorus, which lives on 1 because of her Focus Sash to knock Proto out, so Sonar can come in to avenge his fallen comrades, beating the Haxorus and defeating Iris, making us the Unnovan champion. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe down below.